Mr. Oliver, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Jim. Good afternoon, Simon. How are you both doing?
Very well.
We're doing very well indeed. Before we go anywhere, Spencer, of course, for the next hour, in the company of Mr. Jordan, is going to be talking boxing. Thereafter, we head down to the Den, to the home of Millwall Football Club, where Simon is not safe. It's fair to be said. He can't be seen around those parts. That's why he's not going. But Spencer is, because Spencer's going to line up in the team to attempt to win the talkSPORT trophy. The team All-Stars against Team Breakfast. McCoist and Shabana Hearn have Team Breakfast. Team All-Stars, managed by Alan Pardew and Ollie Murs, includes one Spencer Oliver.
Yes, looking forward to it. I'm glad you told me who I'm playing for, because I didn't know who I was playing for, actually. I'm sure I was on a winning team last time.
But you're useless, aren't you?
I'm terrible.
Yeah.
But that's it. They laugh at me as opposed to with me, and that's the humour side of it we bring to it.
Well, sadly, last time around, Spence, you were an unused substitute
even when they didn't have enough players on the pitch.
with the emphasis on unused. I think Faye Carruthers was fielded before you. But anyway, I'm looking at the All-Stars team. Darren Bent is a captain.
Rupert Bell was put on before him.
Rupert Bell played the blinder, Simon.
I'm sure I did make an appearance. I'm sure I was on for a minute or two. I'm sure I was.
Yep. Alex Crook has lost 7 stone and will feature in the All-Stars
sure
team.
You'll find it again.
In Team Breakfast, we have people like Dean Saunders, Hugh Wozencroft, Sam Matterface, Jermaine Pennant, who could have played in his own and won it last time around. But you're in amongst quite elite company this afternoon, Spencer.
Absolutely. Listen, Jermaine Pennant, I was blown away, actually, the way that he plays.
He was marvellous.
Never
Well, he was a professional footballer.
Yeah, I know, but Simon, I still think he could compete at that level. I'm sure he could. He says he couldn't. He says Division 1, but I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
That was superb.
It's just struck me, with all your football ability that you tell us that you have got, and your white boots, why are you nowhere near this?
Why would I want to be? Where's the benefit of association?
No, let me bring you right up to date. You weren't asked, were you?
I was asked. I was most certainly asked.
Right. Okay.
Like I was asked to go to the awards dinner on Monday night, but I'm busy and
but you're
I
not
won't be
going. All right. Okay. Fair enough. The white boots will stay in the box, and Spencer will take to the field. It's as simple as that. Spencer, a lot to get through in the next hour because boxing fans are urging me to get a bend on, and I will. Joe Joyce is back, but without a bang. I mean, last weekend Joyce eventually overcame Cash Ali in his first bout since being knocked out by Zhili Zhang. Did he struggle, Spencer? Is it fair to say?
Well, I think we need to see a lot more from Joe Joyce. That sort of performance will not put him back up in the mix. I mean, Cash Ali's an awkward guy. He was boxing on the outside, wasn't really engaging, looping that right hand over. But the worry for me was, and the concern for me was, that Joe Joyce was still getting hit regularly with those shots. You know, defensively, he's not tightened up much. It's all about adaptability and whether you can improve on the things that the mistakes that you've made in the past. And there was no evidence of that. And I think a performance like that from Joe Joyce will only take him to a certain level. So still much more work to do. But great to see him back in the winning formula, and hopefully we see him back in the mix soon.
I mean, Simon, it's amazing how a fighter's stock can rise and then fall in a short space of time, and that's what's happening with Joe.
Well, it is, because obviously he made a decision, and a lot of people admired the decision for him to fight Zhili Zhang the first time round, thought there was a lot of risk attached to it, and he took that fight, bought into the idea that he can take a punch from anyone, anywhere, made it part of his stock in trade, that he could take it on the chin, and duly did. And then lost both fights. I mean, what we saw from Joe, for me, was no improvement whatsoever, and getting hit at will by a far lesser opponent, which worries me from the future, because I really like Joe. I like him. I saw him in the foyer with Adam Morley's manager a week ago before the fight, and I want him to do well. But I think we're at a point now where an old dog and new tricks is not going to manifest itself. And I think we've seen Joe Joyce operate at a level, when he does get to a level that can punch and is at a world level, he gets himself in trouble, and I don't want that for him. But I think I personally said to Spencer the other day, there's no improvements. What have they been doing for the last 4 or 5 months in the gym?
I agree with you, Simon. I think that, going back into that Zhili Zhang fight, you go, look, he needs to improve in things. He needs to adapt to get the victory in the second fight. We didn't see that at all. We didn't see any improvements from the Cash Ali one. I mean, listen, a great fight right now. Dillian Whyte, who's just come back out of what he's been through as well. You know, he's got his licence back. He's boxing again. He boxed at the weekend as well. He overcame Christian Hammer in 3 rounds. Christian Hammer didn't come to fight. It was a frustrating night for Dillian Whyte. But that's where you see Joe Joyce sat now. You go, Joe Joyce versus Dillian Whyte. That's a great fight. And the winner then goes on, puts himself back into the mix. And the loser, has to seriously look at where they go from there.
Spencer, it wasn't that long ago. In fact, just days ago, Don Charles, the top trainer, was in here and he was talking about his fight to Daniel Dubois, he was saying he's ready to go. He's going to have a fight soon. We now believe that's going to be against Filip Hrgović on the 1st of June in Saudi Arabia. But regardless of that, Don was saying, you bet, Dubois is ready to go now.
We're in training. I'm not at liberty to disclose who and when. It'll be soon. That's all you need to know. There is a fight on the horizon, but honestly, put my hand on my heart, I don't know who. We don't know who it is. We're ready. When we're given a date, then you fine tune it for that date. But we're good. He's in the gym every day.
I mean, what's his mindset? You know,
very, very good.
Post Usyk, post everything.
Very, very, very good. He's maturing every day. People haven't seen nothing yet. From that Miller fight, we use that momentum, both physically, mentally. He's grown. He's really matured. Every day we're seeing this guy like a flower blossoming in the gym.
Well, that sounds all right, Spencer. Dubois against Hrgović, according to Hrgovic's co-trainer Ronnie Shields. So how would that play out?
Listen, I think that's a great fight for both those guys. You know, with the landscape of the heavyweights at the moment, with what's going on with the Undisputed, the possible return with the Undisputed, Anthony Joshua's looking for an opponent as well. The way I see this, actually, and how it would play out is, I see Filip Hrgović versus Daniel Dubois, with the winner fighting Anthony Joshua, possibly for one of the belts that's become vacated after the Undisputed fight. That's the sort of landscape, and that's the way that I understand it. I see Daniel Dubois all the time in the gym with Don Charles. It's a gym that I go to regularly, and Don Charles has done a great job with him. He really has, like, not just on the physicalities, but on the mental side, and that's been Daniel's big problem in the past. So Don Charles is doing a fantastic job with Daniel Dubois, and he's right up there in the mix.
And funnily enough, though, Simon, it was Joyce who now we're agreed is at a fork in the road who beat Dubois in London.
Absolutely.
A fight you and I were at together.
I think it's an interesting thought process because, I mean, Filip Hrgović has been the mandatory for the IBF for quite some time now, and sooner rather than later, post the Fury-Usyk fight, it's likely that the IBF belt is going to have to be vacated. So I find it strange why Hrgović would want to put himself in the way of another fight that's got huge risk attached to it before fighting for, because if he loses that fight to Daniel Dubois, he loses all he's worked for, which is to be the mandatory. And I always felt that it was more likely that what would happen is if the bouts can be scattered quick enough and the deals can be done quick enough, that Joshua would fight Hrgović for the vacant IBF and then go into a conversation with Fury or Usyk about a unification fight.
I think from my understanding, that's exactly the way they see it, but they've got the confidence to go in there with Daniel Dubois. And you're right in what you say. It's a huge risk going in with someone like Dubois, putting your mandatory position on the road. But I think, Simon, it's all about the money that they're going to be getting.
And we'll see about the economics makes sense because it's in Saudi. But also, it's a step up for Daniel Dubois because he has stepped up against Usyk, and despite a very serious debate about whether Usyk was hit below the belt or not, there was a class gap. Right, and then a psychological thought process about how he recovered from it. He should beat Jarrell Miller. He should have beaten Jarrell Miller, and he did beat him. But other than that, results against Kevin Lerena and Trevor Bryan are not blueprints for Daniel Dubois to be a world-class fighter. And we've seen him in a couple of occasions where he stepped up, or what we felt was a sideways step with Joe Joyce, and lost. So I think there's real risk behind this. But Daniel Dubois, once upon a time, was being written by people like Jeff Powell as forget Fury, forget Anthony Joshua. This is the next guy.
Boy. Yeah,
and we still got to see a lot more from Daniel.
Yeah,
okay,
I agree.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app, and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.